Last night, and I see one of my brothers here. Some of you may have been there for Hiroshima to Hope, and that was a very important occasion. Given the importance of this organization and your dedication to nuclear abolition, I decided to prepare some remarks, especially for this occasion, that would reflect the potential that we have to take a new direction. The human heart is ground zero. It's in the human heart where blind fear hides in dark chambers. It's there where murderous intensity is unleashed against our brothers and sisters and the world. It is there where nuclear explosions first take place. It's there where the world ends. The world also begins in the human heart. It is where courage creates new possibilities. It's where nuclear weapons can be abolished and where war itself can be no more. The human heart is where the impulse for life resounds with such a powerful pulsation that one person, indeed, all of humanity experiences love through the energy of the heart, the rhythms of the heart, the luminosity of the heart. We draw from our hearts our own transformational potential and the ability to recreate the world. Here we are free of the death wish. Here we summon the strength to wrest the nuclear sword of Damocles from the hands of fates we ourselves have fashioned from the projection of our fears. 66 years ago, that nuclear sword of Damocles was dropped not once, but twice upon the people of Japan. Today, we require ourselves to lay our ears upon the heart of the world and to listen to the cries of the souls of our Japanese brothers and sisters who perished in 2 flashes or who were poisoned by radiation, and to be mindful of the suffering of the Hibakusha who lived to testify to the nullification of our own humanity through the use of the ultimate weapon. We gather here not only to assert that doctrines of unilateralism, preemption, and first strike must be set aside as profoundly dangerous relics, but we come together in recognition that nuclear weapons represent the ultimate escalation of war, and that it is our responsibility to make war itself obsolete through it's our responsibility to make war itself obsolete through direct actions and through concrete steps which can take us in a direction of peace. For we cannot hope to abolish nuclear weapons unless we change the thinking that created those weapons and unless we change dramatically the U.S. role in the world. We need a new doctrine of strength through peace, which relies on diplomacy, the science of human relations, addressing the needs of people everywhere for sustainability, for housing, for education, clean water, clean air, and freedom from fear. A new doctrine of strength through peace will provide for a strong defense with a powerful basic fighting force of Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, and Coast Guard. It will reestablish America's role in the world, mindful of the cost and consequences of the U.S.'s current global presence and the benefits of international cooperation for security through the United Nations. The doctrine of strength through peace rejects counterinsurgency through recognition that every insurgency is precipitated and fueled by occupations. provisions of a doctrine of strength through peace will call for the United States to withdraw from Afghanistan and Iraq by the end of 2011. Call upon the U.S. to participate in a negotiated settlement to end the war in Libya. Call upon the U.S. to stop the use of drone missile strikes. Call upon the U.S. to lead a negotiated settlement in the Middle East which protects Israel's survival and the Palestinians' absolute right to self-determination while working to strengthen democratic principles, nonviolence, human rights, and non-sectarianism in Syria, Lebanon, Egypt, and Tunisia. A doctrine of strength through peace calls upon the United States to renounce all policies of assassination. It forbids the Central Intelligence Agency from having any command or control over weapons systems. It calls upon the Air Force to drop its pursuit of Vision 2020, which is the plan for the U.S. to try to achieve superiority over space through putting weapons in outer space. The doctrine of strength through peace sees that the U.S. will fully comply with all international treaties and insists that our allies and partners do the same, including full compliance with the Non-Proliferation Treaty, the Biological Weapons Convention, the Chemical Weapons Convention, the Small Arms Treaty, the Landmine Treaty, and it calls for the United States to join the International Criminal Court. And that U.S. officials would have to be accountable to that criminal court. A doctrine of strength through peace sees the U.S. in support of the Ground Zero movement. And that will lead us towards nuclear abolition by taking the following steps. 1, to revise and repeal the 2010 Nuclear Posture Review, which calls for sustaining nuclear forces. 2nd, to cancel the order for 12 new ICBM-capable subs. 3rd, to cancel the $29.4 billion in R&D in connection with that program. 4th, to cancel the Air Force's R&D for ICBM follow-ons. 5th, to eliminate $600 million in funding under the Nuclear National Security Administration in fiscal year 12. Next, to eliminate $4.1 billion in funding for nuclear weapons modernization over the next 5 years. Next, to eliminate plans to spend an additional $85 billion for the National Nuclear Security Administration's weapons activities over the next decade. Next, to focus the CIA on identifying, and if necessary, interdicting, seizing nuclear materials from non-state actors. Now, consistent with that, the most valuable provision in the 2010 Nuclear Posture Review calls for, and I quote, enhancing national and international capabilities to disrupt illicit proliferation networks and interdict smuggled nuclear materials and continue to expand our nuclear forensic efforts to improve the capability to identify the source of nuclear material used or intended for use in a terrorist nuclear explosive device. The 2010 NPR declares, quote, the U.S. will not use or threaten to use nuclear weapons against any non-nuclear weapon states that are in compliance with this nation's non-proliferation obligations, unquote. This is a telling loophole, though, in the NPT, which opens the door to the threat of a nuclear attack upon Iran or North Korea, and as such, this provision must be changed to forego the use of nuclear weapons against any nation. The 2010 Nuclear Posture Review declares the U.S. is not prepared to adopt a universal policy deterring a nuclear attack, declaring rather that a nuclear attack is the sole purpose of nuclear weapons, and would, quote, only consider the use of nuclear weapons in extreme circumstances to defend the vital interests of the U.S., its allies, or partners, unquote. Here again, the door is left open to interpreting circumstances which would allow for the use of nuclear weapons. This provision must be deleted from future nuclear posture reviews and deleted from the policy of the United States today. It is time for us to challenge the doctrine of deterrence and reveal it for what it is, a corollary to mutually assured destruction, which is the opposite of survival. The U.S. must ratify the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty once and for all. And we must stop subsidizing the nuclear power industry and its concomitant use of uranium, where the byproduct creates material which can be used for nuclear terrorism. We can prevent nuclear terrorism by not ourselves threatening it against other nations. We can prevent nuclear proliferation by not participating in it, and thereby become a model for all nations. It's time for us to deepen our partnership with Russia and to expedite the arms reductions promised in the Moscow Treaty and START II. It's time for a new partnership with China for nuclear abolition and a new defense partnership with China to stop a new arms race from occurring and to stop the disagreements of the present from becoming the conflicts of the future. Today, as we gather in this beautiful setting, we have to remember that our destiny and the fate of the planet is not outside our reach. It is within our grasp, if it is within our hearts, to abolish all weapons and to abolish war itself. On this great day, when we reflect upon the great human tragedy of war and the event of the dropping of the atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, let us resolve that we shall become, as architects of a new world, free of fear, free of nuclear weapons, and free of war. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Great to be here with you.